Hey everyone, and welcome back to Chris Garage. Sorry I'm a little stuffy right now. I'm fighting a little bit of a bug, but I did get tested, so it's not COVID. Hey, today I want to talk about my little battery chainsaw. It's a Stihl MS-140. I'm going to start carving pumpkins and Christmas trees. So I'm going to be putting a new chain on that chainsaw, and I'm going to show you all how I clean it up real quick and how I put a new chain on it. Really easy. And this is for the beginner chainsaw user. This isn't for somebody who's been doing it for 30 years. You all know how to do what you're doing. This is for somebody that's never really used a chainsaw. I'm really getting into the basics here. So here we go. The first thing that you want to do with this chainsaw, push this little button right here and the battery pops out. We're going to get the battery out. That way it doesn't accidentally energize on us. And then the next step, we're going to get this thing cleaned up. Haven't used it in a while, and the last time I was using it, I was carving with it. When I carve, I use vegetable oil, which is really sticky, and it holds a lot of dirt and stuff if you don't use it very often. So we're going to get her cleaned up. What you use to clean your chainsaw is up to you. A lot of folks use different things. Some guys use gas, some use paint thinner, diesel, whatever. It's up to you. Just be safe with whatever you're using. I'm going to do it outside. I'm going to put on some gloves. I'm going to put on some safety glasses, a mask. I'm going to use mineral spirits. That's what I like to use. The fumes aren't so bad, and it gets it off pretty good. But again, whatever you use, just be safe. It's up to you. I'm not going to try to tell you what to use. You'll figure that part out. Okay, something I really like about these chainsaws is you don't need any tools to do this. Don't mind the mess in the background. All you have to do, take this bar brake off, and you see I'm doing it one-handed. You take this. This is your, this is like the bar nut that holds everything tight. All you got to do with it, flip it down. Yeah, this thing is sticky. You just spin it like this, okay? And then take your tensioner. You're gonna spin your tensioner back. This is hard with only one hand because, again, I haven't cleaned it in a while. But actually, I should be able to take this off. Yeah, see how gunky that is? Somebody did not do a good job keeping this thing clean. I'm not going to point any fingers at the guy. So anyway, all right, but this does pop off of here. I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then we'll go from there. Make sure when you're doing this, you clean everything up really good, though. That's super important. Try not to get anything down here in this battery compartment. I'm actually going to stick a paper towel down in there just so I don't get stuff down on the prongs and connections and stuff. This is nice and clean, so one thing I want to point out right here, this right here is the oil gully. So when this thing is running, it's pumping oil out of it. So before we put this all back together, I'm going to fill it with oil, put the battery in it, and run it, and it should squirt a little oil out. Let's check it. I just filled it up with cheap vegetable oil. That's what I use for carving. On all my regular chainsaws, I do use bar and chain oil. All right, now let's put the battery back in, and it does click. And we'll push the button, make sure we got a charge. All right. Now, make sure the bar brake is off, and we're gonna run it, see if oil comes out. Yep, that's a pretty good flow right there. This thing actually puts out a lot of oil. If I wanted to turn it down a little bit, there is a nut in there. I could back it off or tighten it up rather, and it would put out less oil. But I like it like that. I don't want my carving bars to overheat because they're pretty pricey. So now let's go ahead and get her back together. I got the bar cleaned up as well, and there's three things that I want to talk about. The first thing, hopefully y'all can see it pretty good, is this channel right here. You got to make sure you get that cleaned out really nice. The second thing is feel the edge of the bar, like run your hand outward, all four edges, and make sure there's no burr. And then the last thing is these little holes. Hopefully you can see them. See these two little holes right there? On a regular chainsaw bar, it only has one on each side. On a carving bar or on these cannon bars, it has two. But you got to make sure those are nice and clear because that's where that oil pumps through. So let's go ahead and put this back together and I'll show you that. I got this stuff cleaned up pretty good. I would be able to get this cleaned up a little bit better if I used forced air. But one thing I want to say here, if you're cleaning with solvents, especially on battery-powered saws or electric saws, don't use forced air when you're cleaning with solvents because you can blow it down into all the electrical components. But then also, I don't use forced air when I'm using solvents just for the simple fact that I don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Even though I'm wearing a mask and stuff like that when I'm using it, I just don't use forced air when you're using solvents. It's just not good. So this here is what I was talking about. This is the tensioner gear. Now, I did say at the beginning of the video that you don't need tools to do this, and that is true. You don't have to take this apart. It just made it a little bit easier for me to take it apart and clean it. And all I did was take a flathead screwdriver, and I'll take this off and I'll show you real quick. You saw when I was showing you the bar was off of it. It's really simple. This little screw comes off, and then it comes off. That's all. Very simple. And then I'm gonna put it back together here. Actually, I believe it goes this way. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get this put back together and then we'll get it on the saw. When I'm putting this chain back on, the way I've found that it works the best for me is I put the chain on the bar like this. And you gotta make sure that, see, that's the front of the tooth, that's your sharp edge. You gotta make sure that's facing forward. But I put it on the bar, then I pull it over this gear here, it's your drive gear. Then pop the bar in place, and then make sure it's sitting nice and even like that. Make sure your chain's on the bar all the way along there. And then when you're tightening it up, you gotta make sure the chain goes into this channel on the bottom of the bar. Now, while we've got this apart, I'm gonna show you how this tensioner gear works. When this is back on there, you spin this and that tightens and loosens it. What that does is it spins this little black gear here. That gear touches this tensioner gear, and that's what moves the bar back and forth to tighten it. Here, let me see if I can do it and show you. Oh, see, that's loosening. See, as I tighten it, see, it pushes the bar out. Let me move a little bit here, maybe you can see. As I tighten it, see, it pushes, it's actually pushing the bar out and tightening the chain. But you gotta make sure that it goes in this groove underneath the bar. Sometimes it'll get trapped behind the bar and then you won't be able to spin this. Yeah, there we go. Now this is a carving bar and we're gonna want this to be a little bit loose, but I always tighten it up like this so that it stays kind of snug until I put the cover on, and then I adjust it how I want. So I'm gonna leave it like that for a second. I'm gonna put my cover back on here. And this is pretty simple, it just tightens up. And I always tighten it all the way up. Be careful you don't cut your hand. Then I loosen it back up. Make a little bit of adjustment. Again, on a carving bar and chain, you want it to be loose and hanging down. You don't want it falling off, but you definitely want it to be loose, and the reason is there's no sprocket over here. I'll get into all that on another video, but if you're using a normal chainsaw, you want it to be, oh, wrong one. You want it to be snug up against there. Once this is tight, you'll barely be able to lift this and have a little bit of gap on a regular chain. Okay, now that it's all back together, take my bar brake off. Let's give it a try. Looking good. See how it loosened up a little bit right here? So again, on a regular chainsaw, you would tighten it back up a little bit. This being a carving bar, not having a sprocket, I'm actually gonna loosen it back up a hair, but that's pretty much it. So as you can see, changing out your chainsaw chain isn't that hard. Gas-powered chainsaws, very similar. They just have bar nuts and you do actually have to use a tool to take those apart. I have made other videos with a gas-powered chainsaw showing that, so feel free to check those out. And if you all like my content, make sure you hit me a subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and make sure your bell notifications turned on so you'll be notified when I come out with some more content. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.